Hey guys, welcome to FunNGun. Just figured I'd go ahead and do a video showing a few cool modifications I've done to my tactical rancher here to kind of personalize it myself a little bit. I'll go ahead and start off by showing you that this gun is currently unloaded. Go ahead and set the hammer back down onto the safety there. And I will say I do usually prefer to stow these guns with the little safety orange ring in the cylinder that comes with these guns from the factory, but the way this gun's configured with this shroud on there doesn't make the cylinder easy to get in and out, so this gun doesn't have one in it. But if you've been around the channel for a little while, you've probably seen this gun a few times. I actually have a full review on this gun and its factory configuration, and then I actually had a second video on this gun that was up for a short period of time showing it in a very similar configuration to this that I actually had to delete because the ATF has made the revolver seal that I had mounted to this gun illegal. So that's why you no longer see it around. So pretty disappointed about that. I have to say, abolish the ATF. I'm really hoping and praying sometime in my lifetime we can get that taken care of. But until then, revolver seal's not on the gun. That's also why you see this hole drilled into the top of the receiver right here above the barrel, because you had to have a second location to clamp the seal on. And that's also why the finish is beat up on this gun in quite a few places, especially on this side where you had to take the cover on and off to reload the gun. It was a little bit of a hassle to reload, but it was also quite cool to be able to play with a revolver suppressed. Just a different experience in itself, which I guess I'm still pretty grateful that I got to try until they made it illegal. So hopefully one of these days I get the right back to be able to play with that again. But let's go ahead and talk about this shroud a little bit. This is made by a company called Salem Lakes Armory. And they actually make quite a few different variants of this. I'm going to go ahead and insert a picture right here off to the side showing all the different variations of this, or variants they make of this. This is actually the 16-inch without a rail, and that is the top rail. They actually make one that is the 16-inch with the top rail you see there, and they make a 6-inch with and without the top rail. And they also make the wood version of this that has an insert you can remove that has a rail and one doesn't have a rail. And you also have the option of doing a custom color, and they can 3D print this in any color you want because this part is 3D printed. So that is an option. And they also, as you see there, offer for the 16-inch version of this gun that is the pistol that has the pistol grip on it, a set of grips that allows you to slip it on there, and it gives you an adapter point to thread a buffer tube into it to put an AR stock, and that is only for the 16-inch version of the gun unless you really want to spend the money to SBR yourself a heritage revolver, which I guess would be kind of cool, but to each their own there, I guess. Has as much in the tax stamp just about as you do the gun. But yeah, so that is something that they do offer. And let's go ahead and talk about this a little bit more, just what holds this onto the gun and how it's mounted here. The actual barrel band here, which is also 3D printed, comes with the screw and the nut to hang it on, or to clamp it on there. And that is really one of the only modifications I did to this. These edges were kind of squared off and pointy. And when I had the revolver still on there and I was able to use this as a hand guard, it was poking my hand, so I went ahead and rounded them off. But for the fact that you can't use it as a hand guard, you're going to be using it as a shroud, won't be a big deal. And if you do put this shroud on there, I guess it gives you a place to mount a flashlight or like a bipod, or I guess anything you want to put onto a rail, you have the option of doing so now. And what keeps this from rotating is usually right here is not cut out and it's just squared off right there. A lot cleaner look, but had to cut that out to fit around the revolver seal when I had the revolver seal on there. But luckily for me, there's just enough of it left touching the frame right there to keep it from rotating on both sides. But that actually is what that's for, is where this slips around and it keeps that from being able to rotate. Okay, so on this side, you will have to remove your ejector tube, and the actual shroud here has a spot made into it to allow for the ejector to go down into it. And let's go ahead and show you how this works here. Okay, so that allows you to be able to use that. And I will say, I originally in the first video of this that I had to delete had pictures showing what this looked like before and after, but this actually used to be squared off, so when you'd pull this back and go to let it go, it would get hung on that edge quite often, and it made it a lot harder to unload. So Salem Lakes Armory, if you see that, you want to round that edge off, make it a little easier to use. I just took a file and knocked it off. So that is another modification I did to it, I guess. But not really, you have to, it just definitely makes it a lot easier to use. So that's the shroud. Pretty cool either way, just kind of completes the look, even though I can't use it as a handguard currently. as I go ahead and insert a clip of right here of me forgetting about that and shooting it because I hadn't shot it in a while without the shroud on it, the seal on it. So let me go ahead and show that. So as you can see there, it's not a huge deal if you shoot it with your hand up there. It's just not very pleasant because your arm is going to get blasted with the gas out of the cylinder gap right here. So that is something I have experimented with a little bit, and that's why this second hole's been drilled down here, because I figured I already had a top hole, and I actually made this plate that would go right here and help deflect the gases coming out of the cylinder gap away from my arm, which just kind of worked about how I figured it would, and it went ahead and, as you'll see here in this clip, I'll insert real quick and we'll talk about it after. So as you can see there in that clip, you see me getting a nice surprise, which I guess it wasn't a surprise because I was kind of expecting it, just not as bad as it was. Is when you go ahead and cover this side up, you get at least 50% because the other 50% goes out that side of the cylinder gap, but it blows all of it into your face. And if you've ever messed with one of these revolvers, you're going to get hit in the face with some unburnt powder and just crud coming around the cylinder gap anyways. And this just goes ahead and funnels it all to your face. So until I can come up with something to either seal this gap off or just something in general just to make that where I can actually use this as a hand guard, this is just going to be a shroud for me, just for looks mainly. Like I said, maybe add a light or something on it later just for the heck of it, but not really completely useful now to me. So let's go ahead and get into the paint job here. This paint job, I just went ahead and painted both parts with a darker green, kind of looks like an army green, just to kind of give it a more tactical look. And then I went ahead and took a can of black spray paint, painted down into, or sprayed it down into the lid of the can, and then took a foam tipped paintbrush and stuck it down into it, just a little bit of the tip of it. And you kind of hold it back from it and you can flick it and you get that splattered look, and it kind of just looks to me like a kind of a cool tactical rifle kind of look. And it also matches kind of similar to my tactical cowboy here, which is also unloaded while we're talking about it here. It has that orange cylinder insert in it that I was talking about a second ago. But this gun, I originally did it this way, and this is actually a texture gray paint, and it actually feels pretty good in the hand. And then I went ahead and splattered it black, and we'll get into how I did this on both guns in just a second. And I am currently looking for another one of these. This is off a Ruger 1022 Tactical. It's kind of like a little flash hider type deal. I would like to pick one up for this since I'm not going to be shooting it suppressed anytime soon. And this gun also, as you can see there, has the same hole drilled into the frame for the revolver seal, because I actually had one for both guns, and it's also beat up now for the same reason. So, like I said, disappointed in that, disappointed in the ATF in general. So, let's go ahead and get into the red dot that's currently mounted on this gun. If you watched my first video, the review on it, I actually had a Hollison 507 on it, and I actually mentioned that I probably wouldn't keep it on there for the entirety of me having this gun. So, if you've seen my video on the SIG P320 Scorpion that I put the AIM Surplus cheap threaded barrel in, that is where the red dot that was on this gun actually went to. That's the one I put onto that gun in that video and mentioned. And then I kind of did a little bit of, I guess, red dot musical chairs, I guess you want to call it. This red dot came off of my Ruger 1022, and the dot off this went onto the SIG, and then I picked up a Hollison 510 to go on my 1022 that I got on Black Friday at a pretty good deal. I don't know a whole lot about this little Crimson Trace Rad Max. I picked this up at a gun show a little while back for like 70 bucks. It was an opened box special. The box was all crushed up on it, so I went ahead and got a good deal on it, so I went ahead and picked it up and figured I'd give it a go. And I really like this red dot. It has a really big window on it, and I kind of like the way it suits this rifle. Thought it looked pretty good on there, so it's going to stay on this rifle for the rest of the time I have it. I feel like I really like it a lot. And like I mentioned a second ago, the sandpaper here, how I did this on both guns is you go ahead and take some painter's tape, lay it over that, and I used my fingernail to press it in around the edge, and kind of took a small screwdriver to get it in a little farther, and you take a pencil, darken it up a little bit, and then you peel that off, stick it on the back of a piece of skateboard grip tape, and it gives you a good stencil to cut that out. And you can cover up your checkering, kind of give it a little bit more of a tactical look. And I really like the way that come out on both guns, so pretty happy with the way this come out. Not a whole lot to talk about, I guess, considering the fact that it doesn't have the revolver still on it anymore. That was really the coolest modification that I can no longer use. But other than that, it's definitely a cool little rifle. I'm pretty pleased with the way it turned out, and that's really all I had for you today. Okay, if you made it this far, I just want to say thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. If you're looking for more Fun and Gun right now, you can click one of the 2 recommended videos there. If you're looking for more Fun and Gun later, you can go ahead and click that there subscribe button. I sure would appreciate it. And if you're finding me from Facebook, go ahead and click that open app button at the top to make all that a lot easier, and I'll see you next time.